Welcome to episode 270 of the Ageist podcast, where we bring you conversations with the people reshaping what it means to live boldly at any age. I'm your host, David Stewart. This week, we're revisiting a conversation with my good friend, Michelle MacDonald. She's a strength coach, founder of the Wonder Women coaching platform, and a powerful voice for those of us refusing to lower the bar as we age. Here's a quick preview of our talk.
Choose your hard, one of my favorite sayings. This is the kind of mindset piece about how you approach any big, scary, hairy, audacious goal in life, right? So if there's something that you're trying to achieve that's going to require you to become a different version of yourself, you are going to have so much incredibly seductive resistance from the inside, right? Because it's you against you. That old you that's very comfortable with running its ship doesn't want you to really change, not change significantly, not really change the game, not get out of the box. And so what you're going to have to learn to shadow box with is yourself.
Michelle isn't here to sell you easy wins or empty promises. What you'll hear instead is a clear, smart breakdown of what works. We'll talk to Michelle right after a brief word from our sponsors.
I've spent years talking about health, longevity, and optimizing how we live, but here's something we don't talk about enough: what we're cooking with. Most nonstick pans are still loaded with forever chemicals, stuff like Teflon and PFAs that can leach into your food and even the air in your home. Not great. That's why I've switched to Our Place. Their cookware is completely toxin-free, high performance, and ridiculously easy to clean. Their 4-piece cookware set replaces an entire cluttered stack of pots and pans, saving space and saving you $150 when you bundle. Plus, it comes in their signature gorgeous colors. I have the cast iron always pan in sage green, and it is beautiful. Upgrade your kitchen and cook with confidence.
Head to FromOurPlace.com/ageist and use code ageist for 10% off site-wide. With a 100-day risk-free trial, why wouldn't you try it? You ever flip a protein powder bag around and wonder what half those ingredients even are? Yeah, me too. That's when I found Puree grass-fed whey protein. Every single batch is third-party tested for over 200 plus contaminants by Clean Label Project, and the test results are published online. It's whey protein I actually trust. Use code ageist at puree.com/ageist to get 32% off Puree grass-fed whey protein when you start a subscription. You'll also get a free shaker worth $25 for a total savings of $49. That's PUORI.com/ageist. Code ageist at checkout. Today's show is brought to you in part by Fatty 15, an incredible breakthrough in healthy aging. Fatty 15 is the first supplement to feature C15, a newly discovered essential fatty acid that helps repair and protect your cells as you age. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to support your long-term health and wellness, especially as you get older. Get 15% off your 90-day starter kit at fatty15.com/ageist with code ageist at checkout. Let's give Michelle MacDonald a call right now. Michelle MacDonald, how are you today?
I am so good. I feel like I've been talking to you already.
It's been a couple years.
A
You
few.
and your mom are
mom.
two of the shining examples I pull up when somebody says to me, I'm X age, I'm in this shape, I can't do it. And I say, no, you don't want to do it. Don't tell me you can't do it, because look at this. And I just show them a bunch of things that you've done. Huge
Yeah.
service out there. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think when we first created the Train with Joan account, there really wasn't much out there to inspire older women what was possible. And it's been really great now to see, Instagram and other platforms just flooded with all of these. I mean, every time I know how the algorithm works, and every time I open up my Instagram, I'm getting this, I just saw, I think it was a 98-year-old woman setting a world record swimming. And then I see this Italian guy sprinting. I mean, I swear to God, this guy can sprint faster than me. His posterior chain propulsion was unbelievable. And he's supposed to be in his 80s or something. So it's been great to see this huge shift. And it happened faster than we could have thought.
Let's talk about some of the stuff that bothers both of us. There's so much of that.
Get a cane ready. You might have to
So the newspaper of, record, the New York Times, will come out and say, well, at 40, this is happening to you, and 50, and at 60, you should take up mall walking because it's just over. Give up. This idea of sarcopenia, loss of muscle tissue, is inevitable. What are your thoughts on that, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. So I was just reading some copy, and then it started off with this statement. The intention was great, right? But it starts off with this very common statement that I'm so tired of hearing, which is that, by the time you're 40 and then 50 and 60, of course, you're going to start to experience muscle loss. And the way that that sentence falls, because somebody who's not exposed to the world that I'm exposed to, where I live and breathe, muscle building for women for all ages, that I have been doing since 2012. It sounds as though this is this inevitable part of age. And what I want to do is flip that and say, hey, if you're anybody of whatever age and you don't do the things necessary to build muscle and retain muscle, you're going to lose that muscle, because that's how the body works. The body's incredibly efficient. That's how we survive in all these different, different bioregions and climates, right? The body adapts. It becomes very efficient. You don't use it, you lose it. So I'd really like to flip that. And instead of always talking about, aging and that certain things are inevitable, we really shift the focus to like lifestyle. And depending on your lifestyle, you're going to have different expressions of financial wealth, different expressions of physical wealth, which we call health, different expressions of relationship wealth, right, which we call love, right, depending on your lifestyle, depending on the things you prioritize and what your habits are. So we really need to shift that, because I just want to be really clear that there is a blueprint, there is an out. And yeah, I love that my mom is a perfect example. People might not listen to me, because you look at me and you think, oh, I mean, I'm almost 55. And people look at me though, and they're like, oh, well, you never had to work for it or struggle, or it always came easy to you. And that's not true, but I get it. I understand that. But when you look at mom and you see that for decades, she was incredibly overweight. She was obese. She was 200 pounds, 5'3", 39-inch waist, yada, yada, yada. And then you see in her 70s, she gets the gumption up and is like, I'm flipping the script. I'm doing the thing. And she had to learn technology. She still struggles with technology. So just think of it. She didn't even have an email. And I'm a totally online coach, but she flipped the script and decided to get her health back under control. And what initially started out as just this, let's lose 30 pounds, culminated in, losing 70 pounds and getting a 28, 29-inch waist back, and then becoming this wonderful fitness influencer. That kind of bypasses that narrative that it's impossible, that you have to be a special snowflake to have these results. And mom's not the only one, but coaching brands that have gone and really addressed the older population and have had wonderful outcomes. It shows us all like what is possible. Like, it's losing muscle is not inevitable. It's your habits, right? It's your habits.
Let's raise the bar, can we please? From like mall walking is like gonna
Oh my God.
do it,
Stop.
or it's just okay. It makes me insane.
It drives me nuts too. Just start with walking. I'm like, no, like I'm a Gen Xer, right? So it's like you take the baby and you throw the baby in the pool. It's like, mom, okay, we're going to go to the gym. We went to the gym 3 days a week. We trained hard. We did 4 or 5 exercises, but it was hard work. She had yoga where she had to like try to stretch and balance, which was hard when you're 200 pounds with a 39-inch waist, right? Just like it's harder. And we started doing cardio every day. Like, I think it was 15 minutes in the beginning, but again, 15 minutes, you're not used to that. You've got all this, just go and put 70 pounds. So an O-bar with plates, go put that on your back and then go and try to do cardio, right? Like, you're just, what? Reality. So we didn't do walking. We didn't start like that. And it was like, okay, you've got to eat your protein with every meal. What? She lost, I think it was 3.5 inches off of her waist the first month. She was down, I think it was 25 pounds. I was just doing an article and I was going through her files. I caught that she had lost 25 pounds by the end of March. That was 3 months. That's 12 weeks, 25 pounds, right? We didn't do that by mall walking.
No.
And this drives me nuts. I can't tell you how many times I'm in the gym, and this is what really got me started on the whole, like, I got to start just coaching women myself, was because I was seeing so many women my age being so underserved. Like,
Right.
they were on machines doing silly exercises that don't make sense. Most of the time they were just chatting, and that, working out was therapy or whatever, and you're paying somebody to be your friend, which drives me nuts. So a lot of things drive me nuts. So I'm like, women need to be pushed. We need to have a vision that that's normal. You need to normalize like working hard in the gym. And that's still something that I'm pushing back hard against, because if you try to find a video of a woman working hard to inspire your clients, it's really, really hard. Most gals have their hair in these beautiful ponytails and they're more looking pretty because that's how we're conditioned, versus showing the actual effort, the grunt work that goes into building muscle, or overly sexualized. So you've got these really strong muscular girls, but they're in thongs, which is kind of crazy. They're in a gym in a thong. Understanding that you have to train hard, that it's about the same disciplines that a guy, that a younger person would have to go through to gain that muscle. That's the shift that has to happen. And let's talk about food, because the other thing that drives me nuts is this love, and people are going to push back when they hear this, but this love of equations, which I think is just lazy coaching. And what I mean by that is, especially with my, avatar, the woman that I've been working with for over a decade, most of them come to me, including my mother, incredibly overweight, eating not a lot of food. And they didn't get overweight by binge eating. They didn't, not the clients that I work with. It kind of crept up accidentally. I think through decades of yo-yo dieting, chronically under eating, getting stressed out, not eating, and then overeating occasionally. So their body gets very adapted to not eating a lot. It gets very efficient. You're running a company, you're running a household, you're doing all the things on not a lot of food. And then occasionally, like on the weekends or on a Friday night, you have a couple glasses of wine, maybe a bottle of wine, you have big dinner, you have dessert, you go out with your friends, and it starts creeping up like that. You get increasingly sedentary, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden your body's adapted to a lower caloric intake, and it's become very good at, when you occasionally eat a normal amount of food or even a little bit of a surplus, it gets very good at storing that fat. So when you do these calculators, and I have girls coming in all the time, like I worked with this coaching brand and we did the TDE thing and we did the calculator, and I was eating 2,100 calories, whatever, and I kept gaining weight. And they're being told that that's normal, or they're being told that their metabolism is broken and so they got to keep eating, or they're being told all these stories, when in fact, if you're a coach, you know what I'm giving the client isn't working. And we know that equations are just, at the end of the day, best guesses. Why guess when you can really work directly with a client, or a client, a person? You could sit down and do the boring legwork of actually tracking what you're eating and using one of these millions of apps out there now that will tell you what's in your piece of Ezekiel bread, or what's in your 4 ounces or 120 grams of chicken, does the math for you. And you track what you're actually eating to be the size you are. And from there, you're like, oh, this is my mother. I'm 200 pounds at 5'3" with a 39-inch waist. This is important, right? Because it's like the whole story. And I got there on about 900 calories a day.
Whoa.
That's what the body was adapted to. Whereas if you use a calculator, it would have spit at this much larger number. And when you don't work with real people and real bodies, you might think, oh, your metabolism is broken, or there's something wrong with your hormones. There's nothing wrong with her hormones. There was nothing wrong with her thyroid. It's just sticking with the wrong program for decades, right? You stick with the right program for decades, you end up this wonderful, beautiful nirvana place, this place of miracles. Like, wow, that's a miracle. If you stick with the wrong program for decades and decades, you end up with this in this other place, right? It's just habits repeated daily, but going in different directions. So that also drives me nuts with food. And I think, especially for women, they get to this really hard place. They get told a lot of negative stories about why they're there, and then they're not offered real solutions. And getting in fabulous shape isn't rocket science. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Getting in fabulous shape, rocket science. It's not this special abracadabra voodoo stuff. It's simple stuff that we were doing centuries ago. We know how to optimize the human body, just like we know how to build a champion racehorse or a greyhound. We're mammals. We know how to manipulate mass, how to feed, hydrate the mammalian body. We know the mammalian body needs to sleep. We know that we need to moderate between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. You don't want your champion greyhound to get, too strung out. Like, we know these things are true, but we have created a story of distraction and confusion. I think, at the end of the day, it serves, dare I say it, capitalism, or The truth is, no one's really in charge.
We'll be right back with Michelle after this quick break. Now's a great time to stretch, maybe take a deep breath, and think about what your version of strength looks like. I used to think all protein powders were pretty much the same until I actually looked at what was in mine. Questionable quality protein, trace heavy metals, synthetic additives, weird sweeteners. Not great. That's when I switched to Pure, short for Pure Origin. Their grass-fed whey protein is one of the cleanest out there. Every single batch is third-party tested for over 200 plus contaminants by Clean Label Project, and the test results are published online. And the ingredients? Simple. Whey from grass-fed cows, free of hormones and GMOs. 21 grams of protein, 6 grams of BCAAs, and a taste that actually feels like food, not candy. I'm partial to the bourbon vanilla, real vanilla seeds from Madagascar. It's quite delicious. Honestly, it just feels good knowing what I'm putting in my body is clean, safe, and transparent. Use code AGEIST at pure.com/AGEIST to get 32% off Pure E grass-fed whey protein when you start a subscription. And with that, you'll get a free shaker worth $25, bringing your total savings to $49. Go to PUORI.com/AGEIST and use the code AGEIST at checkout. As someone who thinks a lot about aging, I've tried most everything, from cutting-edge tech to the simplest things like walking more and sleeping better. But what really caught my attention recently is something that feels quietly revolutionary. It's called Fatty 15. This isn't just another supplement. Fatty 15 is built around C15, a newly discovered essential fatty acid, the first to be found in over 90 years. That's right, discovered by Dr. Stephanie Venn Watson while working with aging dolphins in the US Navy. Dolphins, who knew they'd teach us so much about human health? What makes C15 remarkable is how it repairs and protects our cells, boosting energy, supporting sleep, cognitive function, and even smoothing out those stiff joints we start to notice more as we age. Based on over 100 studies, we now know that C15 strengthens our cells and is a key healthy aging nutrient, which helps to slow biological aging at the cellular level. In fact, when our cells don't have enough C15, they become fragile and age faster. When our cells age, our bodies age too. Fatty 15 is clean, 100% pure, vegan, and free from all the junk you don't need. Over 70% of users report real benefits within 16 weeks. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help support your long-term health and wellness, especially as you age. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/ageist and using code AGEIST at checkout. So, if you want to age like you mean it, gracefully, powerfully, and with purpose, Fatty 15 is a smart place to start. There is so much confusing, contradictory, and just wrong, nutty shit out there. It's really simple. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not very complicated. You used the word hard. Talk to me about hard. What does hard mean?
Choose your hard, one of my favorite sayings. This is the kind of mindset piece about how you approach any big, scary, hairy, audacious goal in life. Right? So if there's something that you're trying to achieve that's going to require you to become a different version of yourself, you are going to have so much incredibly seductive resistance from the inside, right? Because it's you against you. That old you that's very comfortable with running its ship doesn't want you to really change, not change significantly, not really change the game, not get out of the box. And so what you're going to have to learn to shadow box with is yourself. Right? And you're going to be able to come up with the best reasons why you shouldn't do something, why it's too hard, why what you're being asked to do is too much, whether it's a financial growth you want to experience or transforming your physical health, whatever it is, right? So that's true. So for those situations, you have to have incredible clarity about what your goal is, and you have to recommit to that on a regular basis. But I also suggest to people, you also have to have a couple of quick elevator pitches that you can give to yourself, knowing yourself, knowing where your pain points are, so that you can tap into that higher power and continue doing whatever it is that you need to do that you know is going to serve that growth, even though you're hearing in the back of your head all of these excuses. The truth is, when you're going through hard, it hurts. I mean, hard is hard. And I think sometimes when we coach, we forget that and we're like, choose your hard. But I go through hard things on a regular basis. I just love growth in all aspects. And I tend to, take big chunks of the life, and I pay huge ignorance taxes a lot. I was saying at one of my, company meetings even last week, I'm like, we're going to stop starting our huddles with our wins, and we're going to start starting our huddles with what's a fail, what's a loss, right? Because if you really, really embrace growth, and I'm not the first person to say this, if you really embrace growth, you're embracing failure. It's baked into it, right? Mistakes, failure, because you're stretching. And we have to learn to have a delight in falling on our knees and getting back up, and not being the person that falls down and cries. I mean, you can cry, but you got to like get back up and get on the bike and try again. If you're ever going to be that kid that's, just done the double flip and her friends are high-fiving her, or his friends are high-fiving him, you're going to fall down and skin your knees several times. And that's what makes the win so momentous. So the hard is, we can never forget when we're embarking on a big journey that you're going to have a lot of resistance internally, that the emotions you're going to go through are going to be incredibly challenging. Like if you're somebody who gets mad, you're going to get so mad you want to fire everybody. If you're somebody who gets anxious, you're going to get so anxious and full of doubt, you want to just quit and retract. I mean, this is the feeling of the hard that you're going to go through. And you have to accept that and kind of be prepared for that. So you change the meaning of those feelings. I think Tony Robbins talks about, your emotions are action signals. And if you do the deeper work, you start to realize that feelings that you had that used to signify a certain set of behaviors, when you do the deeper work, you're like, oh, wait a minute, that feeling that I'm having of anxiety, that doesn't mean I need to quit. That means I need to just stop, look at what's in front of me, maybe talk to a mentor, or maybe just lean in and do the thing, right? But it doesn't mean that I'm supposed to become anxious and run away and go and emotionally eat or quit the job or, have the fight with the husband or whatever it is, right? So we start to look at those emotions differently. When we really get clear with the goal, understand that failure's baked into it, that hard is actually going to feel whatever it is that we tend to feel: angry, frustrated, anxious, worried, depressed. And then we've got to get really good at that elevator speech where we're like, okay, wait a minute, this is how it's supposed to feel, keep going, or wait a minute, I'm feeling this feeling, take a deep breath, or whatever it is that becomes your new set of, habits or behaviors that you roll in when you're feeling the feelings of growth, the feelings of stretch. I think probably that's one of the ways that we age the fastest, right? Is we get so uncomfortable with the reality of growth that we just stop choosing it. And I think one of the fastest way to stay young is to adopt that growth mindset for all that it is.
I love all this. Yeah. Choose your hard. You can choose this one or you can choose something else. A lot of what you're talking about, to me, it strikes me about belief systems and self-belief. I had Laura Hoff on a couple weeks ago. Laura is the daughter of Wim.
Wow.
Talking about belief systems and what you think you can do, what you're capable of. And, as we say here a lot, you are braver, stronger, and more capable than you ever thought you were. You just don't know it. So that's sort of like a bit of our brain that tells us like, oh, you're not that person, you can't do that. So this idea of having this vision of where somebody wants to go or who they could be, how do you address that?
Can you repeat that question back to me? I want to make sure I answer it right.
Yeah. Okay. So I've had a lot of people on this show address this question. So my buddy Peekaboo Street, who is total fucking badass, I would ask her, why were you able to do this? And she says to me, I wasn't better. I just knew I could do this thing. All the other girls could do the same thing I did, but I just sort of knew it and I could do it. What Laura Hoff told me about like the ice, it's like, you can do it. It's going to be really uncomfortable. But once you get out, you realize, oh, I'm more than I think I was. So if somebody comes to you and they're overweight, they're out of shape, maybe they're like my age, and they say, gosh, that would be so awesome to be that person, to look like that. But wow, I don't know if I can do that. What do you say?
For me, I'd probably come at it from, can I do the things required?
Right.
I'd probably say, well, what do you have to lose? I mean, what are you holding on to? I'd probably go from that direction because, again, the lifestyle that you're choosing is directly giving you your outcomes. The only person that can write that script is you. And if you're juiced out by how the script is rolling, then stick with it, right? But if you're not, and this is kind of what I said to Joan when she was at that dinner table and she was huffing and puffing getting up the stairs, her face was all mottled, it was like white and splotchy and broken capillaries. I mean, I could barely see her eyes. And I was like, where's my mom? And she was also depressed and bitter and angry and like all of this, just this one package of unhappiness. At 69, she hadn't turned 70 yet. I talked to her for 2 hours. And at the end of the day, it was like, you're the only person that can do this stuff. So yes, it's going to be hard, but what do you got to lose? Because you're on a speed train hurtling towards an inevitable future in a nursing home, getting bed sores and having somebody come and take you to the bathroom. And you don't want that. It's not fun. It's not glorious at all. And the way medicine's going, you could be strung out like that for 7, 8, 9 years, right? So like, what do you got to lose? So, I mean, if you're really loving your life, because it's that risk benefit, if you're really loving your life, then maybe, it's not for you. Maybe going for a walk around the mall is enough. And for some people, that's actually the truth. It's like they're kind of happy with everything and they don't want to do all these things. And so for them, it's like, well, then go for it, right? But for other people where the life you're having and the body that you're in, it's just not giving you that positive outcome that you want, it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth trying. And I think the more you have that negative mindset or set of limiting beliefs where you're trying and failing and trying and failing, it's going to be really important to make sure that you surround your own personal ecosystem with a lot of props to help you out. The hard is hard. So if you tend to have those limiting beliefs, it's so important and easy now today to leverage, whether it's podcast or audiobooks or books or community groups. You just have to be careful, right? What groups you plug into, what people you plug into, because they're either going to like help level you up or they're going to enable you. A lot of groups end up being very chaotic and very drama filled, right? Or my way or the highway. So really making sure that you're choosing, to people your ecosystem with the kind of, inspirational figures that'll help lift you up. It's something that we try to do at the Wonder Woman. I think we do it really, really well. I look at some of the gals that are just on Instagram talking and sharing what it is that they do. And they do it for the love of lighting other candles the way their candle was lit, potentially by Joe or by myself or another older client. So that's key. I remember this famous guy that said, why not? Right? Like at the end of the day, like, well, why would you train so hard? Why would you follow this diet? And his answer was like, why not? And a lot of times when people are doing something really incredible and really amazing that requires a lot of effort, people around them will ask that question.
right.
Why are you doing all that? Why don't you relax? Why don't you have a drink? Why? They start to feel uncomfortable, right? That's
right.
their ego. And I want to be careful. I want to be nuanced, David, how I frame this, because I always tell my gals, like, be the irresistible light in the room, right? And can you somehow light that flame? Even though the question might seem confrontational, could you understand that question is from a place of fear, right? That comes from a place of limiting beliefs. Is there a way to respond to that person? Not that we're responsible for other people, I'm not saying that, but is there a way to respond to that person that could actually be a hand reaching out through the window and saying, I gotcha, right? So, why are you doing all of these things? Sometimes I think the way we talk about the things that we need to do is from a place of restriction, right? Like, oh, I got to do this thing, or like, oh, I wish I could, or like one day I'll be able to, or I can't do that yet. It's how we're presenting the things, the habits that we know give us the wealth or the vitality or the relationship that we want to have. Oh, I got to go home with my wife, versus like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun, but I'm going to go and have this great date with my wife. I've been planning it. It's one of my favorite things to do in the week. How we present that information to other people is going to either create curiosity, like, oh, what are you doing? What's the playbook with your wife? Like my wife and I, we don't really do, it's got, we watch TV, we watch Netflix. What are you doing? Oh, well, I send her a text message just like we did in the old days. And I make sure there's flowers or whatever it is that keeps things exciting. And similarly with our training, like, do you have to do it or do you want to do it? You see these poster comments on Instagram, rest days are a rest day for the weights. And when you're really in the lifestyle, it feels like that. Like when you have an athlete that gets sick, I mean, they're just thinking about, oh my God, I'm losing my training. I'm going to like that. They can't wait to get back into the gym. Do you know what I mean? Or somebody who's really healthy. Like when I go to a hotel for a week, which I have to do sometimes, I'm like, I can't wait to, get back to my kitchen. And not because I'm overeating or whatever, but I just know that my body runs better and I feel better when I'm the one making the food. My clients do all kinds of wonderful things, like they'll bring little mini waffle makers. One of my clients, Jody Ekovitz, you got to get her on the show. She's amazing. She has this waffle maker. She makes her protein pancakes. They have these travel smoothie things. And so they actually do a great job, my clients that travel a lot, to see clients, of navigating that travel. But it's because they have such a strong pull because of how they want to feel. They don't want to get constipated. They don't want to have low energy. They don't want to have disrupted sleep. They want to be able to hit their meetings, right? They find a way to get some steps in, and even a dumbbell workout at the hotel gym. So you've got this pull because now you're identifying with yourself as an athlete, or you're identifying yourself as feeling full of vitality, and it changes your habits and your desires. So that's really important, how you frame things to other people. Like, are you having to do things, or do you want to do them? And if people are asking you, why are you doing it? I would check yourself first to see how you're framing what it is you're doing. If truly you're joyful about it, and somebody's asking you, why are you doing all that stuff? That's a perfect opening to say, oh my God, I didn't used to do all this stuff. Trust me. And I would never go back. I feel like $1,000,000. This is crazy. Like, I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. In the beginning, it's hard because it's a new habit, but now it's just like clockwork. It's like brushing my teeth. And I get this miracle outcome. So why wouldn't I?
I think it's about loving yourself.
It is about loving yourself and
I
allowing
think
yourself to have a different story.
that's right. I think so many people, they think it's about shaming or, oh, I hate the way I am. Or, no, that's not going to get you anywhere. That's going to get you weak.
Yeah, you can't beat a champion horse over the finish line.
No, I think it's about loving yourself, and it's about, what you mentioned about, it's about changing the identity. It's one of the most powerful things I ever heard was, it was an old Nike thing. Bill Bowerman says, if you have a body, you're an athlete.
I love that. You have a body.
If you have a body, you're an athlete. That's the way it is. Sometimes people in my community will come to me and they'll be like, oh, like, what do I do? And I said, you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and you say, I am an athlete. What do I do today? It's like earth shattering for someone to do that. They're like, oh, okay. If I'm an athlete, I guess I need to go to sleep tonight. I guess like the Doritos are not such a great idea. I guess I got to do this other thing because I'm an athlete. It's transformative to just own that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to own this. I'm an athlete. Okay, this is what I do.
I absolutely agree. That's kind of my mission statement at TWW is into my coaches. We cultivate the inner athlete, and that we believe at our core that resides in every single woman. And that's part of that, how I see the 40+ gal being undervalued, probably
Yeah.
guys as well, but just sort of being discarded or treated like, at the gym, just do the steps, or just do the leg extensions, instead of looking at a woman and saying, well, let's look at your squat movement pattern. Okay, well, let's try this exercise and see if we can get better, mobility there. And when you hear the inevitable, like, oh, I'm not flexible enough, or I have, bad ankles, it's like, well, I always say, like, well, look at the average 50-year-old guy, business guy with a pot belly. You see him squat, he squats ass to grass, and he can't touch his toes. So is it about flexibility, or is it about movement patterns, mobility, and the stories we tell ourselves about how we should be moving, depending on our gender or depending on our age? So that's a huge part of one of my core beliefs, is that there's an athlete in every woman. If she decides to believe that, I'm here to coach her.
In our first conversation many years ago, I asked you the question, do you get sore? And you said to me point blank, I'm an athlete. Of course I get sore.
Yeah.
I'm sore all the time.
Yeah.
And that matter of factness in my personal life, I found that if you carry yourself into the world that way, it gets reflected back to you. And it's in the same way, people mirror us, right? And if we put ourselves out there and we say like, okay, this is the lifestyle that I have, this is how I eat, this is what I do. And people look at you and they're like, oh, you're that. Oh, wow. We have this idea, especially as women get older, they think they're invisible. You are not invisible. When did that happen? You don't have an invisibility cloak. Sorry. People see you. Whatever you decide to be this kind of person, you are leaving ripples in the water all around you. People are seeing this and saying like, she does this. That's cool. Maybe I could do something like that.
I do think that we're in a very exciting time in the world. Like I said, when I first started back in 2010, I remember being at the Olympia. I was with a supplement company, and I remember the editor of a magazine telling me that, my place was so limited because of my age. I was 40 and I was at this booth with all these 19, 20, 21-year-olds. And he was like, sex sells and it's all about youth. And there's no market for the 40 plus woman. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And I'm like, well, whatever, you do you. I'm going to do my thing, because I know there's like millions of people like me out there that just want the blueprint for how to, take care of their bodies. And 2020 created a coaching team, and of course, Joan and all that jazz. Now we see, like I said in the beginning, seeing so many other people turning their eyes to women. And I think it's an interesting time, and I think it's a dangerous time. One thing that I would love to just share with your audience, and it's so important to me, is that we take a pause in this exciting era of, older women being paid attention to, right? And our fears and concerns and all of that being addressed, is that we just take a pause and reflect on, again, what I said, that it's not rocket science, right? How to optimize the mammalian body, like an animal body. We know how to do it. We've known it for centuries. If we look at the Mediterranean diet, you'll see it popping up on almost all of the various organizing bodies for cardiovascular disease, for bone health, for menopause, diabetes, and this idea of, quality lean proteins, healthy fats, whole food sources, some olive oil, colorful cornucopias of produce, vegetables and fruits, some nuts and legumes, like whole grains. This way of eating, we know, underpins longevity. We know that, right? And, we have these different branches that want you to cut out major parts of that, cornucopia. But honestly, for the vast majority of people, I'm not talking about special cases of people that maybe, have epilepsy and need to follow a keto diet, but for the vast majority of people, you're going to thrive with a balanced approach. And there's more nuances than that, but I don't want to overcomplicate this statement piece. And in terms of training, we know that you have to stress the body enough to cause it to remodel, to cause it to adapt and remodel tissue. And if we do that consistency, like putting braces on the teeth, we do that for a couple of years and we get a completely new bridge and, new smile, a new bite, which is crazy, right? You're changing bone structure when you think about it. How can we change softer tissue like muscles and body fat by just doing these simple processes and hammering the stone, for thousands of reps, and we get this significantly different outcome? We know how to do that. So it's really quite simple. And the key is to be cautious with even a lot of the information we're seeing right now, especially targeting. So I'm using the word targeting, not addressing, because I have seen this coming for a couple of years now, and I'm really seeing it at a crescendo with the 40 plus and the peri and menopausal women being heavily targeted, that there's something wrong with their bodies. That's the underpinning message, which is really a continuation of the same narrative that has been fed women for centuries, that there's something weak, something wrong, something unbalanced about the female body. And we're seeing that hitting hard right now. And it's really hitting the menopausal space hard. And of course, it's easy to get seduced by that messaging because, if you don't have a great lifestyle and you go into menopause, it's just going to amplify a lot of the negative symptoms of going through that transition. And it's baked into our society in the Western world anyways, that there's got to be a quick fix, that something's wrong with the female body, and that the negative byproducts of aging is inevitable. I just want to put that cautionary note in there, and there's a lot of grifting happening, especially around the space of medical entrepreneurs. So people with Harvard degrees, people with gynecological backgrounds, even, that are selling things on the back end of their websites, and they're saying some things that just go against what the organizing bodies are saying. And it's causing a lot of upset in the communities, in the back end, in the scientific communities. But the way the algorithm works, these people are just getting so much traction. I mean, I've seen one gal get up to 2 million followers, and it doesn't matter that a lot of her scientific claims are getting pulled apart. in the comment sections, it is just, people are just buying this messaging. And so it's very concerning to see. So that's one little thing I would say, is just to really pace yourself and understand that the human body is not as complicated as sometimes we're led to believe. And that the way through a lot of times is just doubling down on the simple things, the lifestyle habits, and giving yourself enough time, like putting braces on your teeth, giving yourself enough time to see the fruits of your labor. I'd like to ask you what you've been seeing, because you interview so many people, and I'm sure it's very seductive. I'm sure you've had guests on that have told you that estrogen's the answer, or women should be on testosterone, or testosterone's the answer.
I think there is a natural human inclination to grab for the little blue red pill or whatever. There's a place for that stuff. I think there's a place for things like a lot of the other exotic stuff that's out there, but you gotta get the basics. Don't talk to me about XYZ peptide if you're not sleeping and you're not building muscle and you're not eating sensibly and you're not out there talking to your friends, you're not involved in life. Let's get this stuff. Because that's what I used to do, these online masterminds. I don't do them anymore because they just want me to tell them, like, stand in front of this light or go into this tub or swallow this pill. Like, yeah, in 2 years you can do that, but hey, you got to do this other stuff, right? You were saying it's like, this is not new cutting edge information. We know these things and we don't want to do them. And this is going to be terrible. I'm going to get a hate mail for saying this, but most people really don't want to change. And that's fine. Like, no problem with that. You're happy with who you are? Great. It's learning new things is hard. Like, if you wanted to go learn Mandarin, that would be, I'm guessing you don't know Mandarin. That's hard. Can you do it? Absolutely. Can you do these other things? Yes, but it requires effort. I think the biggest obstacle here is this idea of identity that I keep going back to. It's like this optimistic outlook. Like, if you're a pessimist about outcome, it doesn't matter how much information and resources I give you, you do zero, right? So you have to believe that this is possible, that you can transform yourself. If that's what you want to do, you can become stronger. Like the stuff, now you got me talking about myself. I got osteoarthritis in the lateral compartment of my left knee, and it's an issue.
Mhm.
So we're talking about, I was up at the hospital for special surgery, talking at one of the docs. Geez, what are we going to do here? Like, are we looking at total knee? And he's like, for you? No. I said, well, can we do partial? He says, first he says, total knee, that's an old person's thing. He says, for what you do, not going to work. I said, well, what about partial? He says, for what you do, you would bust the adhesive off of that thing and it's not going to work. For what you do, we need to do this other sort of special thing because, yeah, you're 66, but you act like you're a 35-year-old athlete. If you want to keep doing that, you got to do this other thing. So he sees me.
I love that. I mean, that's amazing that you've got that. Because one of the things I say to my clients all the time is like, I don't want you to go to just any physio. I want you to go sports physio who is used to your demographic and sees the friggin' athlete in you so that they give you the right kind of service so that you can get back in the gym doing the things, right?
So I spent a lot of time in Park City. So I've got my physios there. And I had a little clean out on my knee a couple of years ago. You know, there's like a whole room full of people and we're all sort of doing this thing. And the main guy comes over to me and he says, so tell me a little about yourself. What do you do? What's your goal? And I said, well, I'm a competitive ski racer. He says, oh, okay. Reality changes. Suddenly there are a couple of 35-pound dumbbells in my hands and we're doing walking lunges and David's going, for a couple of days of this, I said, why am I doing this? And they're not. And he looks at me and says, you told me you wanted a bigger life, right? This is what you got to do. It's like,
that's
I want a bigger life.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be. Addressing the individual, not their age.
Yeah.
It's the individual. Yeah. And I hope that's more the future, that we're seeing that more and more, and that, you know, for both men and women, as we're getting older, that it's becoming normalized to be unbelievably healthy and to want more of that as we get older.
I get these people, they write into me like, well, my doctor told me whatever. I said, fire your fucking doctor. He's an idiot.
And unfortunately, it's not that easy for people.
Well, it's not, but it's just, I want to say, like,
yeah,
you're getting the wrong message here. I had a primary care doc, this was like 4 years ago, say to me, oh, so you're active. And I'm like, what do you mean by active? I can do 100 push-ups straight up on the floor right now. You mean like that? Like, it just drove me crazy. Like, she was like, oh, you can get out of the chair without using your hands. Can we like raise the bar here? Like,
Do you know that
come
pregnancy
on.
in your 40s is considered geriatric? And one of my clients was a nurse, and she saw her report, and it said, I think she was 42 at the time. I said geriatric pregnancy, and she was just so upset by that. And I was like, yeah, it's, you're over the hill at 40. Crazy, right? I'm working on a book, and I was talking with the gal who's helping me, fabulous woman, and she's trying to nail, what my messaging is. We were talking about people have to find the pain, right? And I said, we're in a really crazy time right now. Like, we're at an exciting time, but it's like chaos, right? Chaos is opportunity, but it's also disaster. And I see incredible opportunity here for certainly the Western world to have tremendous growth in what we choose to normalize and focus on, and the things that we bring into play and make every day for all of us. But at the same time, we're at such a tipping point where we have such a huge part of the population that are older and incredibly unwell. They're incredibly unwell, incredibly sick. At the same time, we have a young population that is incredibly sick and incredibly unwell. We've never had that ever, right? We never had so many people aging, but also being incredibly healthy. And we haven't had the younger generation being so significantly unhealthy. I think it's like 50% are now obese or something like that. If we have people in their 70s and 80s living longer, but incredibly unhealthy, and of course we're having all those medications and machinery and all these things, but they were healthy when they were young. We know that. We know that the baby boomers were out playing like street hockey and, hide and seek, and had recess and doing all these things, right? Sports teams. But kids don't have that now. And these baby boomers are unhealthy. What's going to happen? I mean, you can see that there has to be a profound, massive shift. And I think that's probably why when we see some of the things that happened with politics recently, and the food babe being able to position herself and get Kellogg's to kind of wake up and shake up with some of the additives they were adding to their foods, and seeing how the public were really getting excited about changes to the way food hits our tables in the West. And then we have to care more about what's happening with that whole system. Like, why is processed food so subsidized, so cheap, versus why is broccoli, which has no marketing, right? And it just is like the farmer picks it up and it gets transported to the grocery store. Why is it more expensive to buy a bag of broccoli than it is to get, a family-sized pack of potato chips that has millions spent on advertising? Like, just Doritos alone is so much marketing dollars that go into it. And then there's the factory and the processing and all of that. How could that possibly be less expensive? It's kind of mind-blowing, right? And so there's a real interest in these things, which is important, but we've got to normalize what we know, David, is true. And not just food. We have to know and have access to great food. And it's got to be fun and cool to eat that food. That's got to be the message. We know that exercise and being able to be mobile and agile is really, really important. Cardiovascular health is important. Strength is important. So we know that. We know that things like sleep and hydration are important. We know that meaningful relationships are incredibly important, which is getting harder for people to cultivate. We don't have as much role modeling for how to have difficult conversations and make wise choices, and the importance of playing the long game. And we don't have that as much saturating our social media, right? It's still instant gratification happening. So, but we know these things are important to teach people. We know financial health is really important to teach people. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in this nexus point of chaos, what's going to come out of it, and what the more strident voices are going to be saying, and who's going to be leading from the front.
Hang tight. We'll return in just a moment. If Michelle's story has you rethinking what's possible, you're not alone. Stay with us. More to come.
Today's show is also brought to you by Our Place. I recently swapped out my old toxic kitchenware for Our Place's and couldn't be more satisfied. Not only are Our Place's pans and appliances beautifully crafted with a range of fun colors, they are also made without toxins and chemicals. We talk a lot about health and wellness on this show. One of the main things to do is remove toxins from your life. If you make it a priority to eat healthy food, make it a priority not to cook on unhealthy pans full of forever chemicals. Our Place has completely upped my kitchen game, along with many others. Just look at their 75,000 five-star reviews. Go to FromOurPlace.com, that's FROMOURPLACE.com, and enter the code AGEIST at checkout. You get 10% off site-wide.
That's FromOurPlace.com, code AGEIST. And get this, Our Place offers a 100-day trial with free shipping and returns. Check it out and get those toxins out of your kitchen today. From like the research that we do, it's a barbell, right? You have one group of people who's the wealthiest, healthiest people to ever walk the planet over here. And you got another end of the barbell, which is unfortunately much heavier, which is the opposite of that. There's not a lot in the middle. It's sort of like this has happened. And the future, like what you're talking about here, is economic Armageddon, if it's not fixed. But if it's fixed, I had Andrew Scott on my podcast. He wrote the 100-Year Life. He's a PhD from economics at Oxford. And he said to me, for every year of healthy life that a population can go like one more year. So rather than people,
Oh yeah, it saves trillions.
it's 4% boost in GDP. There is nothing that you can do that outstrips that. However, as you said, if you have this huge population coming up that was unhealthy in their 20s and 30s, the economic
And
cost
health in their puberty, right?
are
And
in
health
their teens.
for
Yeah, it's just like
8,
what?
9, 10-year-olds obese.
It's
And
just
that's out of
like
control.
that's not going to go so well. I mean, I think for people like us, Michelle, I'm going to just group myself with you. We're powers of example, and we can just say like, hey, like you were saying, like broccoli, you can make that choice. Like you can make the choice to move your body as much as you can make the choice to not. Some people are just going to be sort of happy where they are. But you mentioned the word pain. I really like that. I like this idea of like
You have to find your
remaining.
pain and you have to find your pleasure point.
Exactly. I'm going to go pain first because I'm a guy. Change is painful. It's hard. It's like, oh my God, it's work. The uncomfortability of being who we are in the place we are, that just becomes so much. We're willing to take this leap. We're like, okay, I'm going to call up that Michelle woman and I give up. You've got me. Fix me.
Yeah.
But you got to sort of reach that thing where it's like, okay, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, so I'm going to do this.
My mom's catch line, got sick and tired of getting sick and tired. Yeah.
Right? And then you get the pleasure. So the pleasure, the quick, the
Yeah,
same.
your actions have got to start driving emotions, not emotions driving actions. That's the key.
Like the dopa hit you get from doom scrolling, you can get a much more powerful dopa hit when you find out next week you added 3 pounds to that weight. That's awesome. And you just like, oh my God, I did that. Like this idea of measurement and tracking and like, oh, I can do this. Oh, that feels great. That's my wrap. I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I think for a lot of people, they have to personally, I don't know who says this, if it's Longfellow, it's one of those literary greats, but they said there's some truths that have to be experienced,
Yes.
to be believed, to be understood.
Yes.
And it's that whole
100%.
right? Like sometimes you just got to hit rock bottom. You can't learn from somebody else, from somebody else's mistakes. But I also believe that sharing is caring, and that one of the wonderful aspects, it's also, how we get conned and how we end up with groupthink. But one of the aspects of being human is that we're very social animals, and that, behavior, it gets imprinted on each other. And so, it's why our parents were so cautious about who we hung out with when we were kids. And it's why we have to be cautious about what we're consuming, what we're listening to, what comment sections we're diving into, what groups we're belonging to, and all of that. But you have to be intentional. You just have to be wise about that. But, you can hang around with people that make it fun and make it exciting and normalize the behaviors that are disciplines at first, right? Habits that become habits, but at first are disciplines. Like, oh, it's this thing I got to do and I've got to learn. But if you're in a community of people that are saying, you can do it, I used to be like you, but look at me now, right? If that's your community, and of course it's aspirational, you're inspired by this future version of yourself, these other people that are further down the road than you, then that gives you a huge leg up. You're kind of like, you remember when you were a kid and you were on your skateboard and somebody else would be biking and you'd be holding on and kind of,
that's right. Love that.
Yeah. And so you leverage community like that, or a buddy system. But I'm a big fan of communities. That's what, my coaching brand's built on. That's huge. And then on the other hand, I think pleasure, and that's kind of baked into that, but pleasure is really important too. And having that clear and compelling vision, that's Tony Robbins right there, but you have to have a clear and compelling vision that's pulling you forward. And part of that, of course, is that core belief, that deep, deep self-belief that anything is possible. And that's fundamental to, I feel, youth. When I think of like, well, what keeps you youthful? That I'm not finished yet. Like, I don't even know who I'm becoming. And I'm loving every minute of it. Like even the wrong turns, I'm just like, wow, how did I get here? And like, okay, I got to figure out how to get out of this pickle, right? With that childlike delight that this is life. You can figure it out and keep going and try to have fun while you're doing it. And if you can help other people, help other people. That's for me the key to having a fulfilled life and staying young forever, because it's a heart posture.
I think the pleasure thing is so important, and
So important. You got to have the joy.
you need joy, you need pleasure in life. And I think that one of the downsides to oftentimes talking about the sort of things that we do is we undersell the pleasure of it. It becomes about exclusion, and it's about expansion.
Yes, bang on.
Yeah.
Perfect word. Like, what message are you selling? Like I said earlier, right? If people are pushing back, how are you languaging what it is that you're doing? And how you're languaging what it is that you're doing tells you a lot about what your core belief is. You're doing these things because you are beating the horse over the finish line. And that core belief is something's wrong with you, and abundance is not fun. It's about restriction and about pain and suffering. So it's like choose your hard. But when I go to the gym, I'm training hard, but I love my heart pounding and I love the contraction of my muscles. And then I'm done. And then I'm over dancing with my dogs, or I like pick up my mom and we put the Frank Sinatra and we're dancing. And then I go back to work and I'm working. And then I go speak in crazy languages to my dogs, and I'm, total kid. And it's these little pulses that are all very purposeful and pour into a specific bucket, but there's joy throughout all of that. And that has to be, especially when you're living a big life, right? When you're living a big life, your problems are bigger. The stuff coming at you comes at you faster. I akin it to playing a video game. When you, level 1, you just got this button and you're so slow and the Pac-Man is going like that and you're making all kinds of mistakes, right? And then eventually you're at level, whatever, 12. And it's like, you're doing all the things and you got all the things happening. And you got to be like the pinball wizard, just like, in flow, just in flow. But still, when something happens, it happens so fast. But that's what it's like to be at level 12. And you got to be present to that and find the joy in that. And that's got to be the message you're selling to the crowds. This is another thing I was talking about with Andrea this morning, talking about my book. I feel that when I hear from people like, why are we doing all this stuff? Or when can I go back to normal? Or like, can't we be more natural? Like if I tell somebody like, hey, why don't we get in some like really great fitting, colorful workout gear, right? Especially my age, right? You see gals, they're in this sort of very dated, like baggy tank top and whatever. Let's get you in some really cute outfit by any brand, whatever your budget is. But something really cute, really like chic, really modern. And like, oh, why do I have to do that? And I think to myself, there's a wonderful power in the human spirit when it's very purposeful and intentional to create magic from almost nothing. Like we think of like a croissant, like how did we invent that? That is incredible. Or a beautiful garden. Right? Like if you go to the botanical gardens, that is nature cultivated with purpose and intent. That is human touch. When we think of the Colosseum, when we think of the pyramids, human touch. And when we think of like a house left to its natural state, you go to a suburb where there's, it's a down and out neighborhood and you see the grass going everywhere and like the broken things in the yard. Well, that's an environment left to its natural means. It falls apart. It's raggedy. So what do you mean when you say natural? Understand that human cultivation, the power of the human spirit, when it's purposeful and intentional, when it's cultivated, when you've cultivated wisdom, it has such incredible power to bring so much beauty and joy to the world. And I do feel that has to be part of that, again, that core belief, that power of the human spirit, that you have access to that too, that you deserve joy and abundance, and that by you shining bright and pouring into yourself, you will be able to share so much more beauty and richness with others around you. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. And that's a wonderful thing. One of the biggest hurdles to get over is being able to identify with that. I think in the modern world where there's so much distraction and cacophony, we don't really do that deep spiritual work.
You are just so awesome Tell us about the Wonder Women.
The Wonder Women are going strong. We just finished our second 24-week transformation program, which was phenomenal. It was a program I created back in 2013, and it was really great to see it grow to the magnitude it's grown to. We just had a big retreat in Tulum, and as usual, I met a whole bunch of gals that I've never personally coached, but I was able to experience their joy and their gratitude for the programming and the blueprint that I created, and that's now been passed on to the other coaches. So it's fabulous to see that community, because I'll tell you, David, it was hard. It has been incredibly challenging to mentor other coaches. Integrity is everything to me. It's very rigorous to become a TWW coach. And then there's tons of mentoring layered on top of that. So it's a full meal deal. I always tell my coaches, if this is a side hustle, if you want to be coaching beside the pool, drinking your Mai Tai, this is not the coaching brand for you. We're all in. We really are professional coaches. It's not a side hustle. It's been really beautiful to see the labor of love culminate in this incredible community, both clients and incredible, incredible coaches. That would be a whole tangent on hard, right? Because there's many, many times in building where I've thought, oh my God, this is so hard. What am I doing? It was way easier. And this is the story we tell ourselves. It was way easier when I was just doing the coaching. But I am so glad I never gave up. I just always kept that North Star that there was a purpose to this, and this had to go beyond me, way beyond me, and to keep going. And so when I, go to retreat and I get to experience all this incredible love coming my way because of the hard and caring and loving work of these coaches that my husband and I have mentored, it's everything. The hard things, if you just keep going, it's like the guy mining, right? On the other side of the diamonds, just don't stop. So thanks for asking about that. No, 2WW is going fabulously well. It's expanded, it's doubled. I have a fitness app coming out as well. Joan's app is continuing to serve that real beginner person who's just wants to be in a really warm and inclusive community and get started. So we just got off a call with the team there, and that's doing really well as well. We're excited about some new features of her app.
What's the name of Joan's app?
Train with Joan.
Okay.
Literally, it's the name of her Instagram. So there's a Train with Joan app. Thanks for asking. And we just celebrated our 3-year anniversary in August, where we're coming up to 4 years now. Reviews are great. The community's fabulous. Mom's in there every day answering comments, and it's really targeted at people that are just getting started. So we've got a ton of programs for beginners at home, as well as beginners that have more limited range of motion. And then we're crafting some new programs that will address people that are strong in their lower body, but they have shoulder problems, they have upper body injury, limiting them, and then flipping it. So people that are, their upper body's fine, no issues, but their knees or their hips are going. So we've got that coming out too. And then I have an app, it's called Stronger by Design, and that is going to be launching very, very soon. And the idea with that is that's going to be an all ages and both men and women fitness app. So we're really trying to get some great information out to as many people as we possibly can and just keep serving. So I'm excited about that. Right now in TWW, we have a lot of 2-for-1. So you'll see the husband in the background doing the exercises. We're like, let's get an app together. We'll have a girl entry point and a male entry point, our great programming style and great meal planning as well, and mindset coaching. So that's a labor of love. I'm excited about that.
And if someone wants to train with a Wonder Woman coach, what do they do?
They should go to our website, thewonderwoman.com, and fill out our application form. They'll get a response in about 3 days. It's a 3-step process. There's pages on mindset, on how to start planning out macros. So we really do everything we can to educate even before you apply. So head on over to the website, check it out. We've got a lot of great freebies to get you started. We have a beautiful cookbook that is incredibly relevant, that really walks you through how macros work and how to plan meals and how to create recipes that are macro friendly. And we have a YouTube channel. You can go check out that too. You'll see me all over the place telling you how to squat and deadlift. So lots of places to serve. I've got a book out as well now, a digital book called Empowered Strength that's done incredibly well. I've heard great feedback from that. So that also has mindset training and nutrition for that 40-year-old woman who just wants to cut through the BS and get a great actionable strategy to get started on her own.
I will tell you, when any woman comes to me and says, not happy with the way I look, I want to change something, this is what I tell them. I say, you want to go to the OG, that's Michelle, and go to the Wonder Woman, because no one else out there knows how to do this like you do and has the track record. And I say, this is not going to be easy, but if you want to do this, stop messing around with the goofy stuff. You want to go do this. So,
Yeah. Thanks, David. I appreciate that.
my pleasure. You're awesome. At some point, I want to meet you. And Joan, I've been threatening to come to Tulum. It just hasn't happened. But
You have to come down and visit.
I would love to. The coconut gym, we got to do it.
The coconut gym. Oh my God. Yeah. You can run on the beach with whatever the guy's going to do your knee. Yeah, it's fabulous down here.
Michelle, let us know if there's anything we can do to help you out with your mission, what you and Joan are doing. I'm a massive fanboy, so we're here for you. Thank you so much for spending the time today.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was Michelle MacDonald, and if you didn't already believe you were capable of more, I hope you do now. I love Michelle's ability to cut through the noise with real, actionable insight. It's not about being perfect or extreme. It's about showing up, doing the work, and refusing to let outdated ideas about age define your future. That's it for this week. Stay strong, stay vibrant, and we'll see you next time. Welcome to episode 270 of the Ageist podcast, where we bring you conversations with the people reshaping what it means to live boldly at any age. I'm your host, David Stewart. This week, we're revisiting a conversation with my good friend, Michelle MacDonald.